Good evening. Welcome to everyone and also our online viewers. Our theme this evening is Power of Rising Early. And we have a wonderful speaker, Rachel Priestman, with us, who is a former arts management consultant and a PR advisor for Cambridge University, and has been a meditator for many years. Very enthusiastic, and she's based at our main center, the Brahma Kumaris in London. So I've seen Rachel really getting up early. So when we were thinking of this theme, we said, yes, let's call Rachel. It was really, can tell you a lot more about the benefits and also some of the hurdles that we may face in rising early. Okay, over to you. Thank you.
And welcome. And yes, I was very happy to be given this talk. Are we okay with the mic? Is it okay? A little bit closer? How's that? Is that better sound? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Hello, welcome, welcome. So the power of rising early, which if you hear about it, might be a bit kind of intimidating. It's like, oh gosh, don't I get up early enough? But I'd like to share my feelings and thoughts and experience of early as being an amazing other world that I can be in. And it's a world that quite often nobody knows about. And it's a world that's very sacred and very beautiful and very enjoyable. I just have to be there to enjoy it. And I remember actually, even before I started meditating, I've always loved mornings. It's like, and you know, some people are morning people, some people are night people, and you know, by the late night, I'm nowhere. So I have that little help. But I also think I've just always loved the sacredness of it, and the kind of innocence and the newness and the purity of it. I always used to go for very early morning walks when I lived up in Yorkshire. And I even remember, like, as a student, and I would wait until the last minute before finally writing my essay, and I would do it through the night. And I used to just love that feeling of everybody else is asleep. And I'm here doing something interesting. I mean, of course, it was lovely to go to sleep when you did. And I seem to remember, you know, I caught the kind of magic. And so I hope that perhaps today, you know, we can just share between us, and I'd love to hear your experiences too. You know, what is the magic of the early morning hours? And I mean, it's well known. People talk about Brahma Kumaris or Amrit Vela, the time of immortality. So it's like it's a special time when, you know, that going from the darkness into the light. And similarly, dusk is also a magic time. It's almost like the world is half black and white and half color. Or, you know, and it's that new birth of a day which has its own magic and its own power. And quite a lot of, I've heard this said more than once, that what we think about for the first 10 minutes of the day and what we think about the last 10 minutes of the day have a huge impact on us. And because if you think about it, at the beginning of the day, we wake up, the body is rested, hopefully, to a greater extent, or at least some rest. The mind is quieter, and the world around us is silent. And, you know, you don't hear the roads, you don't hear, you may hear the occasional person on the road or cars on the road, but generally it's just a quieter road, a quieter place to be. And so, of course, it's going to be easier for me to focus. And it's going to be easier for me to experience something that's deeper within myself, because there's not so much chatter here in my forehead, and there's not so much chatter around me. And I was thinking on the bus as I came here, I was thinking, you know, we live in a world of distraction. First of all, it's the external distractions, and you know, it's many people's jobs to distract me. Do this, have this, go there, believe this, read this. And then, of course, I get distracted. Anything I see I'm interested in, or it reminds me of something, or I hear, we are constantly being prompted to think something, or to, and possibly to think something that, to forget about what we were thinking about before. And then there's also the distractions from, my subconscious. And then the memories that keep coming back, or that kind of behavior I was pushed into because of something that happened in the past, some pain or loss or experience, which is, it's having an influence on me that I don't even realize. And so just being aware that, how do I protect myself from these distractions? Because it's lovely. I mean, it's great to be entertained. It's lovely to be interested. We all love that. We want to be part of life. We don't want to I don't want to sit under a tree and just, look at my toes. So I want to be part of life, but I want to choose what my priorities are. And I think that is one of the most difficult things in today's world, is everybody else's priorities start eating into mine. And so for me, why the early morning hours are so particularly valuable is that that's the time when I focus on what are my priorities. And it's not that I have a list, but it's like I'm starting my day thinking about what's really important to me. And so what I'm doing is it's almost like I'm investing in my day before I've started being active, and I'm getting the breakfast, and I'm all of that, working out what I need to do, who needs to go where, responding to emails and to WhatsApp messages. So this is even before I look at my phone, very important. Can I create some special quality, sacred time for myself? And if I do that, it is such an investment in my day, because I'm basically saying that the first priority in my life is to look after myself, self-care. And people can look after me to a greater or lesser extent, but if I don't look after myself, then all their efforts are in vain. So spending time at the beginning of the day just to remind myself, why am I here? What do I want from the day? What's important to me? What would I love to happen? How would I like to feel? What do I want to think about? Whatever it is, that's what I'm doing in the early morning, is I'm creating a space for myself that I can then almost live in my mind throughout the day. So it's like I'm creating a little bubble for myself. And so what I do now every day is that I do get up, and I'm usually up sort of sometime between 3 and 4. And if you told me that 20 years ago, I'd have said, no way. No way. I love my sleep. So I used to get up. Maybe I would get up at 5 before, but not earlier. But it is just so magical. It's like getting a chance to go to a deserted beach that nobody knows about. So it's not like I force myself and I say, I have to do this because it's good for me, because my teacher said I should, or because I'm competing with someone else and I want to look like I'm a very deeply spiritual person. Not like that at all. I'm actually giving myself a little gift at the beginning of the day. I'm saying, you're important, you're valuable. This is the most important appointment of my day. And it starts with myself. And I don't know to what extent you're familiar with the teachings of Raj Yoga. I recognize some of you. Have you all done the course, or are you aware of the teachings to some extent, that what our beliefs are? Okay, great. So one of the key element of Raja Yoga, Raja becoming the master of my own mind, and yoga connecting, a connection, a union, a link. And first of all, as I said, that important link with myself, that important connection with myself, and I don't mean Rachel, who's done this and looks like this and comes from this family and has done those sort of jobs. I mean the inner self, the soul, the being that's deeper than all my thoughts, deeper than all my feelings, deeper even than my experiences, that core of who I really am. And in Raja Yoga, we understand that to be a being of peace, a being of light, a being of love, a being of wisdom. And so, to what extent am I spending time with that beautiful, powerful, wealthy being that is who I really am? Or am I just playing the Rachel on the surface, the character, the labels, the roles, the personality? And if I'm not allowing myself to go deeper, then what am I depriving myself of? That experience of the true self, the powerful self, the beautiful self. And so in Raja Yoga, meditation, what we're doing is we remind ourselves again and again, not, as I say, not forcefully, and not kind of as a mantra or a discipline, but just like a kind, wise parent talking to a child that may have kind of forgotten what it was meant to be doing, or may have got distracted into something, or maybe thinking too much about whatever, or maybe has eaten too many chocolates and doesn't know what to do with itself. My mind can be all of those. But just like a kind parent saying, shh, take some time out, have some quiet time with yourself, listen to yourself, hear yourself, value yourself. Because it seems crazy, but we value other people, we give them appointments, we give them time, we make sure that we, as much as possible, do what we said we would do, we deliver what we promised we would do. But to what extent do I actually fulfill my obligations or fulfill my duties to my responsibilities to my own self? And so this is what I'm doing, particularly early in the morning. It's like, that's my sacred time, my special time. And as I say, it's because most other people are sleeping, it's just, the air is just completely different. I often think, if you share a house or you live with a group of people, even when one person is away, one less personality, it's quieter. And when there's two less, it's even quieter. Because we all have our preferences and our ways of doing things and our senses of what is normal. And so when it's just myself or just a few people up and about, it's just a quieter place to be. It's not that you don't want them to be there, but you're just enjoying a greater sense of space. And I was thinking about this morning. If there's one thing I would say about the early morning hours, it's that this is the one place in life where we can guarantee space. No matter where we are physically, it's like it gives us a sense of openness, of not being rushed, of just a sense of flow, a sense of slowness. And I think in this world, that's what we really, really need, is just to find and to create a space for ourselves just to be. And the early morning hours are the perfect time for that, because they have that power, they have that purity, actually. They have that, the cleanliness of a new day. It's like a child, or it's like spring. It's like a sapling. They all have that kind of freshness and that vibrancy. I had a lovely journey the other day from our retreat centre in Oxford to Leicester. And the green and the hedgerows was just so green. And I was thinking, that's exactly what it's like early in the morning. It's like you've got that new energy, which is so powerful. And we actually drove to Leicester, and we left at about 6 a.m. in the morning. And, there was a mistiness, and there was hardly anyone else on the road. And, there was just that feeling that, gosh, everyone should know about this. If everybody knew about this, they wouldn't spend lots of money going to far-off places. They'd just get up a bit earlier and, go for a walk or a drive or a bicycle ride or whatever. And so to have this time in the morning to listen to myself, to speak kindly to myself, like that benevolent, understanding, but a parent that knows what's good for me. And I was thinking about this word discipline, because, you could say, oh gosh, they get up every day at that time, and it feels a bit heavy. But I think if I do it because I love it, and I really feel the benefit of it, then it's a benevolent discipline. I mean, brushing my teeth is a discipline. Eating a certain amount of food a day is a discipline. Drinking water occasionally. There are lots of disciplines that I do because I know that I'll feel better for it, or going for a walk, or, there are lots of disciplines we have that have just become normal and natural because we see how things improve when we follow them. And so again, this sense of discipline, not from force and not out of duty and not kind of out of reluctance, but yeah, I'd like to do that because I'd like to look after myself. And I'd also like to think that I have the strength of will to be able to do what I choose. And I think that's a very important thing. Not that I boast about it, but just that I'm aware that I have the capacity to do something that I choose to do. And I've often found, like there are some times when, quite frankly, I haven't had enough sleep. And, maybe it's been 4 hours, or maybe less, because something happened late in the night or whatever. I had to go to A&E with someone, or, whatever it was. And if it's really like 2 hours, then I just say, now is not the right time. You have to be balanced about it. But quite often I think, even in spite of that, I want to get up. And there is a magic that happens when I do. And yes, I may go to sleep later, but part of it is the time, but part of it also is that seeing that I can do things beyond what I think I can do. Because I was thinking about, what are the limitations? What are the things that limit us or that make getting up early challenging? And I think one of the biggest one is that it's ingrained. It's like so much in our minds that you have to have 8 hours. And, and if you don't have 8 hours, you start to panic. I mean, I don't know how much time I've wasted counting the hours I've slept during my life. It's like, and actually, of course, sometimes the body does need that. Some bodies need that all the time, and we have to know our own body. But my experience with myself, and I used to sleep for England. I could have got an Olympic medal for sleeping. I think it was my way of coping, actually. I just loved sleeping, because then at least I was away from it all. And my mind went a little bit quieter. But since I've started to meditate and I've started to enjoy the early mornings, it's really interesting to see that, sometimes, there's a voice that's, really quite loud in my head saying, don't get up, or go back to sleep, go back to sleep. And if I just quietly say, no, I'm going to get up. So it's a kind of friendly, it's not a cross, but it's a kind of like, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to have an adventure. I'm going to see how I can manage. And when you do that, it's like you free yourself of some limiting belief. You think, oh, I can't do that. Well, maybe actually I can. Or similarly, after, so I meditate usually for about 3/4 of an hour or an hour or something like that. And it's just a time to just, as I say, fill myself with good thoughts about myself. And then also in that sense of self-awareness, of soul awareness, then it's very easy to just take one step to, yes, I am a soul, then who do I belong to? Who do I relate to? Who's my reference point? The Supreme, the Divine. That being who is just like I am, a soul, but unlike I am, is always 100% pure and loving and peaceful. So at that time in the morning, when I'm in the deepest sense of self-awareness, that's when I'm able to connect more fully and more richly in a loving relationship with God, with the divine. And because there's less interference from everything else. Of course, it's good to. One can do that at any time of the day, and it's good to do that at any time of the day. But particularly in the morning, it's almost like the channels are clear, and it's much easier just to feel very close to that one, and to feel that loving relationship, and to feel a sort of really beautiful vibration that comes from that. And when we meditate, and there are different ways we can do this. I'm sure you've heard many different ways. So I often find it's good to take with me into that early morning meditation something to play with. And it could be one of these virtues in the virtue wheel that I see here. It could be something that I've read recently. It could be maybe a situation that I want to send good wishes to, or have good feelings about, so that things work out. It's something that I want to rehearse or whatever, but I take something with me to kind of keep myself focused, because it's important that I don't just kind of wander around and spend the whole time thinking about what I need to do in the day, and what happened yesterday, and what they said, and how I felt about it, and da-da-da. So it really is important that if I've given myself this gorgeous gift of being up when most people aren't up, and of being with myself and being with God, then let me make sure that the thoughts I have are actually in that direction. I remember, I don't know if any of you've seen it, but I remember there was a skit done by a comedian called Joyce Grenfell. It must be 40 years ago, but they show it still quite a lot. And she was singing in a church, in a Church of England service, and she was singing hymns. But she wasn't singing hymns. Actually, she was singing, "I wonder if I left the iron on, and I must remember to put that away." And and I think sometimes we can do that when we meditate. I'm sitting, I'm looking at a beautiful picture, I'm looking quite the perfect part, but my mind is all over the place. So that benevolent discipline of, no, come back. And it will go, and that's okay. It will wander. There may be a sound, or maybe something, I'm remembering that came up from yesterday. And you just say, not now. I'll come back to you later. Not now. This is my special time. And so having that time, and it can be, start with 5 or 10 minutes and just see how it feels, and just see how different it feels. I mean, it's kind of not like the thing we usually do. I was thinking that, when we get up early in the morning, or certainly when I used to get up early in the morning, before I started doing my early morning walks, I would get up either to finish my essay or to catch a plane, or maybe, to get somewhere in time for work if it was far away. So these are all, and you get up and you have something, you get dressed quickly, and you sleep for the last possible time. You put the alarm at the latest possible time you can, so that you can sleep as much as you can, right? So that means that everything that you do between when you wake up and when you leave the house is as rushed as it possibly could be. And then you wonder why your day isn't so comfortable. So compared with that, to give yourself time when you're not having to do anything, you're not writing lists, even in your mind, you're not listening to anyone, you're not talking to anyone except yourself and God. You're just giving yourself space and time to be relaxed, to kind of be creative with your own thoughts, your own feelings. And, that's an investment that you take with you for the whole day. That atmosphere that you created for yourself within your own mind, you carry with you wherever you go, in your car, to your office, with your children, whatever it is. You've created that within you, and you carry it with you. And you can also kind of like top it up with little traffic controls, as we call them, those kind of like 1-minute pauses throughout the day to stop the traffic of the mind. Just remind yourself again, and take yourself back into that experience of the morning, and how adventurous it felt, how different it felt, how magical it felt. I mean, maybe it just felt, it wasn't that interesting, but maybe it was just peaceful. And that in itself is lovely. I think another thing that I know I did to begin with is I was quite kind of competitive with others, but also with myself. And I was thinking, should I be seeing purple? And should I be feeling, they felt this, I didn't feel that. And I think it's, each one of us has our own experience, because each one of us is our own selves and has our lives, our own thought processes, our own personalities, our own experiences. So not to think, I should feel this, or I should do this, or why am I not feeling this? But let me just look at, how do I feel? Do I feel better for that? And as you get up from your meditation, how different do I feel from what I did, how I felt when I sat down? Or how different do I feel, as I'm going about, getting my breakfast ready? Is it going more slowly? Is it more peaceful? Is it more easy? Or, have I managed to kind of slow myself down? And then I pick things up gently, and I, put things away quietly. So it's just a much gentler atmosphere that I'm creating for myself. Yes, first of all in my head, but then all around myself in what I do. So I love to meditate, but if meditation is still a little bit strange for some, then maybe you just do that for a little while, but maybe you go for a walk. If it's got to be safe and whatever. Maybe you sit in your garden if you have a garden and just continue that contemplation. Maybe you write, maybe you journal. Again, it's a really very rich time if you do write a journal, or you like to, and you just write anything. It doesn't have to be for any particular reason, but it's a wonderful way of expressing yourself. It's almost like you're talking to yourself, but you're writing it down on paper. And just the fact of writing can really bring things out. And if you try writing with your left hand, that's even more interesting. Or if you're not left-handed, your non-writing hand. So you can write, you can draw, you can paint, you can do whatever it is you'd like to do. But somehow that time of the day when the mind is quieter, the world is quieter, the body is rested, and I'm more focused, whatever it is I'm doing will have an extra power in it, will have an extra strength in it. And I've often found, like, if I need to write something, for publication or whatever. In fact, I always, before I give a talk, I always plan it early in the morning after my meditation, because, again, it's that sense of focus, and you can really be interested in what you're doing. Otherwise, in this world of distraction, quite often we're doing 3 things at the same time, and no wonder they don't work out quite as we like them to do. So if I just give myself this time just to potter, and that lovely word, pottering, just to kind of take things slowly, be in the flow, be quiet. I mean, it's not that you're forbidden to talk, but just there's not so much need for interaction, and also not so much need for action. If you think about how much we do in the day, how many words we have, how many actions we have, we're constantly, I know I'm kind of a bit action oriented anyway. So, that to-do list is, it just keeps me, it's one schedule, it's one thing after another, after another, after another. And of course it's fun and it's lovely, and we're meeting people and we're doing things and we're ticking things off the list, and we're learning new things, and it's all very interesting. But sometimes it's good just to do fewer actions, be less using my physical body, so that then I can just focus completely on what's going on in here and on what's going on in this inner world, and focus on creating a lovely space for myself to be in. So one is getting up and meditating, and the other is reading or just pottering about or going for a walk or whatever it is. And then, so that's at the beginning of the day. And then to help that be as good as it can be, there are 2 things. One is the final thoughts at the end of the day. So whatever I think about, that last 2 minutes has an impact on my sleep, and it has an impact on how I feel when I wake up. And you know that when you wake up and you're immediately thinking about something that happened yesterday you haven't resolved. or how many things you have to do. And so I'd really recommend, don't go for the phone. Don't even look at the to-do list if you've got it by your bed. Just give yourself that time in the morning and again at night. Switch off the phone if you can an hour before you sleep. I know that's not always easy, but just give yourself space from constantly being in connection and interaction with other people or looking at the news or whatever it is. And constantly being in a state of response, responding to whatever I'm seeing, reacting to whatever I'm seeing. So switch off the phone. And then, yes, you can read, you can write something, you can write a gratitude journal or gratitude diary, what went well. And if you write, a very good thing to do is to just write to yourself or write to God or write to your higher self, whatever it is, and write, what went well today? And so start with what went well and don't miss that out. That's important. What went well today? Oh, I didn't get annoyed when this happened, or I was able to find another way around that. That was good, like pat on the back. And then what could I have done a bit better? What could I have done differently? Not what did I do wrong, but what next time would I do differently? Maybe I wouldn't have responded so quickly with them at that email message. Maybe I would have picked up a phone and talked to them instead. Or maybe I would have gone for a walk and allowed my mind to quieten down before I'd done anything at all. Whatever it is. But just use that time at the end of the day to resolve things, to put them to bed. And then I will sleep much better. But also, when I wake up in the morning, I will feel much better. There will be a lightness. Otherwise, there's a heaviness of unfinished business. It's almost like there are the unwashed plates of the dinner I had last night still around me. And I don't want that, so I need to do my washing up before I go to sleep. And clean the plate and put it in the rack, and then I can have a new fresh meal the next day. And so one is, yes, so in terms of improving my early morning experience, one is taking care of the end of the day experience. But what also has a very big impact is what I think about the previous day, throughout the whole previous day. And so if I've had a lot of thoughts of negativity, of criticism of myself or of other people, or of complaining, or I've been very worried about something, that will have an impact on my sleep, but it will also have a huge impact on how I feel in the morning and my meditation the next day. Because when I go into meditation, it's like I go to that deeper place. And if I haven't done that cleaning, and if there's still stuff around which is uncomfortable or unresolved, then that will interfere. And so just being aware, as any talk you will hear it in a space, being aware of what I'm thinking, and as much as possible trying to avoid those kind of thoughts that are just repeating of, I can't do that, it's not fair, why me, poor me, I can't be bothered, it's a whole cycle of spinning, very fastly spinning cycle. And that's the difference between meditation and thinking, is that meditation is slow, progressive, constructive, taking me up and giving me power all the time. Whereas these spinning thoughts that take me down are actually reducing my power, are making me inner wealth. And this reminds me of my weaknesses. Focus on in terms of my thinking. I need to focus on this. And the best time to do that is early in the morning. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges. And the first I mentioned, is this belief that I need this amount of sleep, and this kind of counting how many hours we've had. Just allow the thought that that may not be so. And it may not be so today. It may be so yesterday, but maybe I don't need that so much sleep today. Or maybe I could have a little power nap later. So one is the kind of belief system that I've just carried with me all my life. And another one is just my habits. I always get up at this time. This is what I do, and this is what I need to do. But again, all of my habits, they've just been things that I've done over a certain amount of time that they've become fixed. So I could do something different over a certain amount of time, and that would become fixed. So it is a choice, but it takes that determination and that real willpower that I want to do this, I want to try this, I want to give it a go. So the belief, the habits, and then the most obvious one is I feel really tired. I feel that what's the point of getting up if I'm just going to be asleep? And there is that point, if you really are, you're just, your head is aching and you feel awful, then it may be that isn't the right day to do that. But quite often it's not that bad. And quite often when I think, oh, I'm too tired, but I go beyond that, I'm fine. And it's almost like it's like a 5 minutes of ouch. It's a bit like when I used to go swimming, and the first 5 minutes were really hard work, and then it was easy. And it's the same with getting up in the morning. You get over that hurdle of, no, I don't want to do this. I'd like to sleep a bit more. You get over that and you go, oh, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. So that's another way around. But I would say, so, if I am tired, then how can I, as well as watching my thoughts, because of course that's another reason why I feel tired. It's not actually physically what I've done. It's the fact that I've been racing around like, fast cars on Spaghetti Junction in my mind. So reducing, just paying attention during my day to keep my thoughts positive and keep them, just avoid the ones that are just spinning into that weakness, that vortex of weakness. And excuse me. So avoid those kind of thoughts. But if I do need more sleep, then yes, have a rest if I can during the day. A little power nap is somewhere maybe I could find to snooze. And if I can't, then maybe I just go to bed a bit earlier. And, I change my habit and I just allow myself a little bit more time at the beginning of the night rather than at the end. So there are different ways that we can do things, but it takes a bit of willpower because we're kind of stuck into our habits of this is what I do. And it's much easier to follow a habit than to create a new one. But if you do create a new one and it makes you feel good and it makes you feel better and it makes you feel more in control of your life and it makes decisions easier to make and it makes your relationships go better because you're feeling happier about things, then it might be worth changing that habit. Of course, it's not going to fact that you've been able to shift a habit, reluctance, or shift a feeling of I can't do that to, yeah, I can do that. Let's give it a go. And when you do, you kind of think, oh, that's interesting. It's a bit different. And I think that's what I would like. If there's one thing I'd like to say about getting up early, I have to enjoy it. It is that going to the beach. It's like, I wouldn't do it if I'm not enjoying it. If I wouldn't do it just because someone's told me to. I have to do it because it's like, it's so interesting. And, you just love this kind of beautiful, quiet, dense space that you create for yourself at that time. And so it is that sense of wonder, of openness, of adventure, of joy, actually, of quiet joy, which is, we can feel very programmed in life. My work is this, my home is this, I've got these people in my life. You can kind of feel that things are very compartmentalized in your life. In the early morning, you can go anywhere. With your mind, you can go like a rocket anywhere. You can think about whatever you want to think. You can feel whatever you want to feel. You can experience whatever you want. And if it's not easy, and if the mind keeps wandering, and it does, because it's used to wandering, like those children, it's used to wandering. So maybe you listen to a meditation commentary. That's what I used to do to start with. Just listen to one, and then I can continue with it. So you can listen to one for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then if you can, just start adding to it yourself afterwards. Just like so that you yourself are creating your own meditation commentary. But there are plenty of those that are online that you can download for free and listen to. It's very good to create a place somewhere in your where you live, where there's a particular chair or a particular place where you're going to meditate. If you like to sit on a chair, great. If you like to sit on the floor, great. But that's my place for meditating. And it's like when you go there, you just, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready for this. And it sort of welcomes you. And you might want to have a flower there, you might want to have a nice picture, you might want to have a candle, whatever it is that will make it special. That remind you that this is special. This is not just some ordinary method I'm doing. This is something very special. This is a gift I'm giving to myself. And so if I make it special and I make it interesting and I make it happy and kind of adventurous, then I'll have a completely different attitude towards it. So I would encourage you just to experiment. See it as your laboratory, or I don't know, whatever you like, whatever it is, your playground, and just see what happens and see how you feel and see how it helps your meditation and how it helps you to concentrate. But beyond that, as a result of that, how you find that your day will go more easily. Because if I start my day seeing myself as a spiritual being, and not just in theory, but experiencing myself as that point of light, that being of peace and power and wisdom and love. If I really experience that and have those lovely feelings that it brings, and then I take that extra step if I wish to, and I connect my heart and my mind and my consciousness with God, with the divine. And I just imagine being in that beautiful presence and feeling those loving vibrations and feeling the lightness, feeling the radiance, feeling the power that comes from that connection. It's like I'm given a sense of freedom, I'm given a sense of power, I'm given a sense of self-confidence that yes, I can do this. Whatever I want to do, whatever I want to change, I can do it. And God's there to help me. I just need to connect. I need to remember who I am. I need to remember that God is there to support me and to empower me and to say, yes, you can do it. And so that's why I love the early morning so much. It's this special time, this gift for myself, to be with myself, by myself, with God, and to hear and to see and to experience how God sees me, the greatness and the elevated way in which God sees me, and to take steps little by little by little to shift my way of thinking and to shift my way of behaving so that I can become that best self that I want to be, that true self, that being of peace, naturally, automatically, because it's who I really am. So I'm going to stop here, and I've been talking quite a lot, so I'd love to hear from you now and just what your experience is, if you have any questions, if you have any ideas. Let's bring it all together now. Yes?
Thank you. Yeah, it is extraordinary that time of the morning, but there are sort of three things that I'd like to ask you. First of all, in my 20s and 30s, 3 o'clock in the morning was usually the time I was going to bed. So I knew what that magical time was, because most of my 20s and 30s, I worked in the theatre.
Okay.
So, you know, the show doesn't come down. You don't get out of the theatre maybe till 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then you unwind and you go whatever, and you're with friends and you go for dinner and blah, 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 blah. And then my day would be sleeping, and then I'd be working towards going to do a show. So that was a lot of my pattern. So it would be impossible. Plus, I wasn't walking that path anyway. So I've always been a night person anyway. I've never liked the day particularly. So my propensity was as a night person. So I really enjoyed the fact that my work is at night, and even when I'm not acting, my activities are in the evening. So that was like a choice and something I preferred. And of course, that's been my pattern for many years because that was my work. And also, if I don't get a certain amount of sleep, and in my later years, fibromyalgia and the menopause really mess things up, I'm actually quite ill if I don't sleep enough. You know, I was doing a show, and I was understudying someone, and I wasn't sleeping well. And I knew that if that person had been ill, I couldn't have gone on and done it because I couldn't think. I couldn't think properly. I do need a certain amount of sleep. And so when I've tried going to bed, say it's almost impossible at 9 o'clock, because I think I'll try and get up at 4 or 4:30. What happens is I'm up at 1 o'clock, 1:30, because my body all my life has had this time frame. So I really do struggle with that. I'd literally have to try and go to bed at 8 o'clock to maybe get to sleep at 8:30 if I ever wanted to get up at 4, which is cutting my life in half. And also the other thing I wanted to say was sometimes I find early in the morning or any time, sometimes I actually find doing a mantra can keep my mind more on track than if I'm just left to think about, you know, a virtue. That's when I find my head goes into Sainsbury's so much quicker than if I'm not. Sometimes I'll just listen to Sister Jayanti because my head's all over the place. So they're the three things that I just wanted to ask about.
The first one was the very important point. Of course, if for health-wise, you have to be careful, and it's all. And actually, you reminded me one thing I forgot to say was about that balance. It's really important to keep the balance and not to be competitive. And it's not like they're doing this, so I have to do this, or comparing myself. We all have different bodies, and we have to be aware of that. Very important. And the second one was the yes. So and there are many people who work nights or whatever, and then it's just simply not practical. But you can still have your early morning whenever your early morning is. So even you can still create that sacred. Okay, the world won't be in an early morning, but you can still make that first hour of your day very special.
Yeah, but it isn't the same, is it? Like you said, it isn't the same as 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
No,
it just isn't.
No, but it's sometimes you can't do exactly, and maybe sometimes you can experiment. And I think it is about experimenting. It's just, try, as you say, as you did, getting up earlier. And, maybe it didn't work sometimes, but maybe if you tried it occasionally, and sometimes it would, but it's not to make it that it's something that you feel you have to do, or you're failing because you're not doing, because we all have different bodies and we have different jobs and we have different lifestyles. But it's just, if you can, and maybe practice it, and sometimes if you just start shifting it a little, gently, rather than, I'm going to do it immediately, right now, and I'm going to... I remember I did that, actually. The first time I did it, I just did it from nothing. And then I had a very long day, and then going out to the theatre. Well, I didn't see much at the theatre. To see someone's show, I didn't see much of that at all. So you have to be kind of realistic. But it's an aim, and it's a benevolent aim, rather than a forced. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you. Anybody else's experiences or thoughts on this?
Just a question. You said earlier, about it shouldn't be a forceful waking up in the morning. But however, if you're not an early person, it's not easy for you to wake up, and you don't feel like the happiness to wake up. But how can you change that? How can you change that from forceful to happy? Like when you're waking up, is there something you can do? Like, because you like your bed, or even if you force yourself out of bed, you still
love
feel,
my bed too.
Yeah, you still feel comfy in the bed. You want to go back in the bed. And when you're sitting down trying to meditate, and your mind's going back in the bed, you're feeling tired. But
Yeah.
just when you're waking up, just how can you feel like, okay, let's get up out of bed and be happy about it?
Well, I think it is about that. It's like a parent waking up a child, you know. It's like saying, come on, get up, we're going to get it. And I sometimes talk to myself like this, you know, kind of in my head. Up you get, come on, you can do it. So it's that, but I think I need to genuinely feel that there will be some benefit, you know, and that I'll enjoy it. So it's not that, oh, I've got to get up and try and meditate, because that's like, oof, I'd rather not. But it's like, I'm going to have an adventure. I'm going to give this a go this time. You know, so if I can try and be light about it, and again, little steps, and if you can get to bed a little bit earlier, that will be good, because then it will be not so difficult to get up. Or, you know, after a while, and just try it for a while. It won't be easy to begin with, but just a little bit, just trying having a little, you know, getting up a little bit earlier, you know, even if it's just, you know, I don't know, half an hour earlier, just see how it goes. And you think, oh, it was quite nice not having to rush and the whole place to myself. And, you know, so if you can start enjoying it, then you'll think it's worth, because the bed has extraordinary pull. It's like hidden elastic bands, isn't it? It's like, oh, this is so nice, let's stay here. But actually, I mostly I don't feel that anymore, because I know that I will love how I feel when I get up. I know I will enjoy the freedom I feel when I get up at that time. But it's like for each one of us, it's trial and error. But I would just give it a go and just edge your way if you can, and see how it goes. And have fun doing it. That's the most important thing. Anything else?
So can I ask
you? Yeah, of course.
Do you think it's a good idea, if you get up early like that as well, to shower before you have your meditation, to actually cleanse yourself off from the night?
I think it's very helpful.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think you don't have to, but I think because I think it just freshens you up, and yeah, I think it's a very nice idea. No, it doesn't have to be a cold shower. It can be if you like it. Or do your exercises, or I quite often do that in the morning before, and just stretch, freshen up, you know. Otherwise, if you're kind of still half asleep, then you may be a whole asleep quite soon. You know, if you need to have a hot drink, have a hot drink. Whatever's, you know, whatever's going to make it easier to be alert, because yes, it's one thing to get up, but if I'm actually half asleep, then nobody's really benefiting. So great. Anything else? So anyway, just have some adventures and see how it goes. But yes, also take care of yourself. That's important too. So perhaps we'll finish with a little bit of meditation. So relax yourself. Feet on the floor so that you're kind of still and steady. And just rest your eyes, perhaps on this point behind me. And remind yourself, this is who I really am, a tiny point of light. Just energy. Consciousness, spirit, totally separate from the physical body I'm in and everything I do, all the things that I've been doing today and all the things I'll do tomorrow. But I am a soul, a point of light. And I'm totally independent from this physical body of mine. And whatever happens to this body, whatever happens to me, the personality, I, the soul, am fine. Because I have naturally and eternally the qualities that I need in my life. I've been searching for peace everywhere, but I have it within me. I've been looking for love, but it's inside me. I've been seeking wisdom, but it's mine inside. I've longed for happiness, and it was here inside me all the time. And I've had a yearning for an innocence and a purity and a naturalness. And there is a part of me that is always that. This deepest, truest part of me. And so let me make time, at an auspicious time, a quiet time, a benevolent time. Let me create a space for myself where I can remember those truths about myself. And not just think about them, but feel them, know them, exercise them, and value them. And let me remember also who I belong to. Also a point of light, but the purest, most beautiful, most powerful energy in the whole world. The one who loves me unconditionally, who sees my highest self, my greatest potential, and who is there for me to support me on my path, on my journey to becoming who I really am inside. And so let me create these sacred places, these sacred moments for myself. Moments when I simply am there to focus on who I really am. On who is mine and who is there for me. And what I want to do now with my life. Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you. Join me in thanking Rachel. And just to recap a few things that I've taken certainly for myself. That just see waking up early in the morning as a gorgeous gift for yourself. I thought that was a lovely way of, looking at it, not just talking about it, but looking at it. So who would not want a gift, and especially on a daily basis, right? And not to even have a list of things even in your mind at that time of the day. That's the one I'm taking for myself. Because so often, yes, you start off with meditation, then you think of all the things, good things you have to do during the day, but that's not the time really. So thank you, and yes, to maintain that balance, take it slowly, and each body is different, so not to do it with guilt or force, but just to see how beneficial it can be for you. And just to make you aware of a few things that's happening. So our talk next week, same time, same place, is going to be working with compassion, and that's with Sister Masana. And also we have online reflective meditations on Thursdays and Mondays, but this Monday being a bank holiday, we won't be having it online. But Thursday, you're welcome to come. And for Thursdays, you can even come here in person if you prefer. And also, this Saturday, this weekend being the coronation, King's Coronations weekend, there's a community picnic at the local park here in King Edward's Park in Wembley, just about 10 minutes or less walk from here. And we'll be taking part in that too. And everybody is welcome to come. It's for the community. And also at the main center in Wilston, Global Cooperation House, on Monday itself, the 8th of May, from 2 to 5, we'll have an open afternoon. And there'll be lots of funs and games, activities, and be brought out in the front and the foyer. So it'll be quite fun. So do come with your friends and family. And the recommended book for this week is Stepping into Happiness. So one of the benefits is the amount of joy, the gratitude. Yeah, and also to finish your day with gratitude. That's another point I was taken, and journaling. Okay, thank you again. And thank you to our online viewers too.